So we're talking about the Baha'i faith and its how Baha'is are dealing with racial inequality. But Mandisa, please, if you spend the first 30 seconds so just saying something about yourself, your background, please, and then I'll start the clock 7 minutes from then. Okay, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Simon. And good evening, everybody. As Simon said, my name is Mandisa. I'm a mom. I'm a cover teacher at a primary school, and I grew up in South Africa. And I've been living in the UK for a very, very long time. And I consider this as my second home. And yeah, this will form part of my talk. Actually, is that backdrop of my career fused with my upbringing in South Africa. So I'll get straight to it. A while ago, I had the joy and the privilege of being tasked with a colleague of mine to come up with a workshop for the children at our school that was designed to promote oneness and to explore the theme of oneness. Because what we didn't want was just a tick box exercise that said, oh, well, it happens to be Black History Month. What are we doing about this particular thing? We wanted it to be all encompassing, and we wanted it to touch the hearts of the children in a way that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. And I, being raised as a Baha'i, I drew my inspiration from the Baha'i principles. And when I was little growing up, I used to attend Baha'i children's classes. And I grew up with the notion that there is only one race of people. There is the human race. And we come in different tones and shades, like the flowers of one garden. There's even a song about it that just about every child who's been to a Baha'i children's class knows. And this is what the principle that I was raised with. And I wanted to bring that as the central theme of the workshops. Nature is a very, very big part of the way Baha'u'llah taught. So Baha'u'llah is the founder of the Baha'i faith. And Baha'u'llah always said that there are clues to be had and seen in nature, in the perfect balance, the fact that nature doesn't compete but cooperates. And this is how the world of humanity is described in the Baha'i faith. It is likened to a human body. So every single cell, every single limb is working together in harmony and cooperation to make things work. And it was a very, very important starting point for the children to make it known to them that the notion of oneness is not just an airy-fairy kind of, utopian dream. It is a scientific fact as well as a religious foundational principle. And when we looked at the religions all across, I'm so happy to be hearing, the panelists from different religions, because you are just confirming everything that I saw when I was doing my research, is that there are no contradictions. All the religions know this to be true. And science tells us that 99.9% of our DNA is the same. So we took on this two-pronged approach of saying, right, we need to tell the children about the science and the religion, and that's how we know it's the truth. Because another principle of the Baha'i faith is independent investigation of truth. And if a fact is verified by science, check. Verified by religion, check. You can bet it's a pretty good fact and you can roll with that. So that was a really good starting point for us. Baha'u'llah says, O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other. We also, because I teach at a Church of England school, we quoted quotations from the Bible as well that really echo the same sentiment. So what's the solution? Apart from beautiful quotations and writings that inspire and touch hearts, what is actually the blueprint that has been laid down by the Baha'i faith to eliminate racial prejudice? And the first thing that I came across was forging strong relationships and bonds of friendship with people from all walks of life, that being an antidote to the corrosive disease of all prejudice, actually. If we get to know people and really understand and ask questions that perhaps would have been hush hush, because at the end of this workshop that we ran with the children, they were able to more boldly describe people just the way they are, children are not colorblind. They can very clearly see that there are differences in people, but they don't attribute those differences to anything negative unless we as adults do that. So by the end of the workshop, they were saying, you know, words like, that's a Black person, that's a white person, without it being an uncomfortable conversation. And that's one of the barriers that was broken down is, I'm your friend, you're my friend, we're all friends, and yet we can say these things without the fear of hurting anyone's feelings, because we don't mean it in a derogatory way, and we can then ask questions. The other thing was to make that deliberate effort to lift people up and to raise capacity in all walks of life and everywhere we go. That's why Baha'is are always involved in classes and study circles that are specifically designed for this purpose, to raise people's spiritual capacity in order to be the noble beings that we were created to be. And one example I got was way back in 1912, when Abdul Baha, the eldest son of the founder of the Baha'i faith, traveled to America. And he had the joy of meeting one of the first Black Baha'is. His name was Louis Gregory, and he was the son of slaves. And he actually, just after the emancipation of slavery, was able to further his education and become an attorney. And Abdul Baha was invited by Mr. Gregory to give a talk at Howard University all about the oneness of mankind and how to establish peace in the world. So after this event, Abdul Baha was the guest of honor at this reception, and it was an all-white reception, and there were all these really well-to-do people there. And Abdul Baha stood up before the food was served and said, "Where is Mr. Gregory? Please bring me Mr. Gregory." And they they made a place setting for him on the right side of Abdul Baha, and he sat right next to Mr. Gregory in 1912 in a room full of people who would not have, that would not otherwise have happened. That's an example of how it's been of our exemplar. Abdul Baha leads by example. So these inspiring examples really about creating those bonds of friendship and being able to have these conversations and to talk about oneness in a very real and practical way, so that we're walking with the same feet, as one of the other quotations in the Baha'i faith talks about. And really it's about not just changing our hearts as individuals, but building our communities and completely reshuffling institutions as a result of that change.
Thank you very much, Mandisa. You got me just before I was about to stop you there, so well done. Thank you. So thank you very much to all our speakers this evening for all their contributions. What's going to be happening now is that my two colleagues, Kerry Barry and Kautha Akhtar, are going to be just going through the questions and coming back to me with information on that. In the meantime, I'm just going to see if I can actually stop sharing my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen at the moment? Can you see that screen? Yep, you can't. Okay, that's fine. Right, okay, let's get rid of that. Right, I'm going to get my notes up, otherwise I'm going to forget everything. Because I said to someone this evening, I'm a bear of very little brain. So there we go. Okay, so again, thank you for the talks. That's been very helpful. I'm looking forward to hearing the questions. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Working People of Faith's upcoming events. So I say Working People of Faith works very hard to bring people of all different backgrounds together to help understanding and to break down barriers of prejudice of all forms, religious, racial, cultural, etc. And we've got on the 18th of November, there's going to be a virtual tour of the Shah Jahan Mosque, which you can see on the screen where Kautha's name is. It's going to be a virtual tour. And if you want the link to that, you'll need to go to Kautha Akhtar, and perhaps Kautha can provide us later on with her link, or at least with her email, so people can contact her for that. But that should be very interesting. I think it's about 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning on the 18th of November. We have a ladies' coffee morning, which is coming up on Saturday, the 28th of November. These are 40-minute Zoom sessions, a great way to meet and to chat to ladies of other faiths. Feel free to join us, invite a friend, no set agenda, they chat about anything, and I'm told reliably, never run out of things to say. And sometimes they have gone on to a second 40-minute session if they find that their conversations are really going well. And that's but basically 10:30 a.m. to 11:10 a.m. Saturday, the 28th of November is the next one. We hope in the new year to return to a more normal agenda, maybe possibly even have some face-to-face meetings. That's what we're hoping for, but that's obviously down to COVID-19. I'm not quite sure yet how that's going to go. But just to say that in the United Nations Harmony Week, we hope to be having the Working People of Faith story, giving people a background of how it began and the trials and tribulations of building it up into the organization it is today from some of the founders of the organization. And later in the year, we're hoping to have our walking pilgrimage to places of pilgrimage within Woking. We've done 2 previously. They've been very successful, and it's a wonderful way to learn more about other places of worship within your own community. We have a football tournament between different faiths, which should be good fun in June. I don't have the date here at the moment, but that will come on our Working People of Faith, website, wpof.org.uk. So keep an eye open for that, but that will be in June. We have the last post, which is where we go to, and my brain has got a complete blank as I'm just trying to remember the name of our wonderful cemetery within the Woking area. My brain's got a blank. If you can remember, sorry?
Brookwood.
Brookwood, thank you. I went completely out of my mind then. In Brookwood, the military cemetery where we go to there, and we're taken to see different parts of that to find out about the people in those different areas and different religions within those sections. And when we also have an interfaith, service at the end of that as well, plus the last post itself from a military bugler as well. It's a very moving ceremony. It's something that I would encourage people to come along to, and hopefully that will go ahead this year. And we also usually have International Day of